takeaway cups that can't be recycled. Our throwaway coffee culture and the environmental impact is under the spotlight like never before. The plastic lining in the paper cups has been enemy number one because it prevents recycling. And now a US company called Smart Planet Technologies reckons it's found a way around the problem. Its Chief Executive, Will Lorenzi, joins me now. Will, good evening to you.
Thank you.
So, we see before us an array of things here. What have you got in front of us?
Well, the challenge with paper cups is that plastic lining, and that's why they haven't been recycled or been very, very difficult to recycle, most of them winding up in the landfill. I have some examples here just to show you. A typical coffee cup has a plastic lining. It's a very, very stiff lining, firm.
Right.
And this is what's been difficult for paper recyclers to accept. So I'll just pass it over to you. You can see how firm that is. What we've done is we've changed the challenge has always been the coating. The challenge has always been the coating, and so what we did was we changed the coating to make it processable as if there's as if a regular coffee cup, like you would basically recycle a newspaper. So it no longer has that challenging specialist recycling infrastructure, which was the basic premise of the latte levy, the purpose of it to address that. So I'll just hand it to you. So we changed the coating from a plastic coating to a mineralized coating. It still has some plastic in it, but it's 44% less.
Okay.
But you'll notice, more importantly, is it tears like tissue paper.
Oh, I've torn it, yeah.
Yeah. See, now that's acceptable to a paper recycler, whereas the traditional cup, it would be, if you had 10,000 of these cups going into a recycling, it would be like putting 10,000 plastic bags in, and that's why they can't handle it. So this they can handle. It tears like paper, acts like paper, disintegrates down.
Got you.
And so now these materials, paper cups, become acceptable not only in the specialists, but you can go beyond that. Just any recycled paper mill can accept these materials.
And the cup that you've got there at the end?
So this is just the cup, and it's going to be a bit underwhelming in that it's going to be an ordinary cup, and for the consumer, it looks the same, works the same, everything is the same. Yeah. All we did was just fix the coating to make the paper cups a fully recyclable material.
And that is as robust as a plastic-lined one, you would argue.
You would notice the difference. It works just as well.
Presumably it's cheaper to the retailers if there's no plastic in it as well.
Well, there is some plastic. We need the plastic to form the heat seal and to hold the liquid contents, but it winds up being 44% less plastic. When paper cups were originally designed, I don't think there was much concern about how much plastic you used. I think that's much more of a concern now to people today. And secondly, when they were designed, there wasn't the thought of making them recyclable materials at the time, and that's a lot more important these days.
I suppose people weren't drinking molten coffee in those days either, were they?
No. Exactly.
So how long has it taken to patent all this?
Well, the patents over 7 years was spent patenting it. It was introduced in the U.S. about 2 years ago.
Right.
It needs extra formulation for the EU specifications, but we completed that this past year.
Right.
And we've trialed with Costa. There's a number of different leading coffee houses interested in it. But most importantly is that the latte levy was to address the fact that traditional paper cups were never designed to be recycled, and they're difficult to. If the latte levy had gone through, there would have been a 25p charge. But in the latte levy was also written if it's less expensive, or if it's more sustainable, it should have a lesser charge or no charge at all. So the whole country would have moved over en masse. All the manufacturers would have moved over. This now will make it take a bit longer.
So presumably you'd be highly delighted if the government turned around and said, well, hang on, all you retailers, the Costa Coffees and Starbucks of the world, you've got to start using stuff like this.
Right. And a 25p charge would have done that because they would have wanted to avoid that charge for their consumers. So they would have looked for the sustainable solutions because we were going to either have a lesser charge or no charge at all. And that would have been a dramatic shift in the market.
The buzz around the recycling industry, though, is that they're working on ways to recycle these cups with plastic linings. I mean, that would hit you, wouldn't it, if that becomes reasonably well rolled out and well received?
Well, those all require specialist efforts. It requires specialist infrastructure, and the 25p charge was to pay for that infrastructure, but it was an unnecessary charge because paper cups can be made in the same fashion. It's just by changing the pellet that goes into the machine and made it into a fully recyclable material, it would have built an unnecessary infrastructure. And
so you better show me the pellets here.
Sure. So this is a 100% polyethylene. That's the normal coating that would go on there.
Right.
And this is a mineralized blend.
Right.
So it has 44, when it's put onto the paper, it'll be 44% calcium carbonate, which is completely food safe.
This one feels less dense.
No, it's a little more dense, actually, because the minerals are heavier.
Right.
but it provides just as good a barrier, and it works just as well as a coffee cup. It's the way coffee cups should have been designed in the first place, and now we're trying to basically rectify it.
All right, well, we've got to leave it there. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much.
Good to see all the raw materials.
Thank you so much, Ian.
Thanks for joining me. And that's it from me. You've been watching Ian King Live. A reminder, this video content and analysis on the business pages of the Sky News website.